guys, it's the Happy Green Cow here. Today we're gonna go for the topic of how to glyph up. So this is one of my few beginner topics that I wrote down of what people keep asking for. So just generally going over how to glyph up, how to glyph a monster, what should you do, what shouldn't you do when you're beginning. So when you're in endgame, this isn't for you. Your endgame, you should relatively know what to do. I can make some videos later on if you were confused, which you shouldn't be, but this is mainly for newer players, and it's also for players who are kind of around the mid-game and maybe want to progress and they feel like they're stuck. Maybe they feel like they can't get past a certain glyph dungeon level, and they need some help progressing. Okay, so first for the beginners, let's have a look. So this is my team. I got a little bit lucky when I was opening my 9-packs. I got one dragon, got a couple nat 3s which are okay. Not really the best, but they're okay, and I can make use of them. And of course, I got Bluebird, the Bluebird of Happiness, which you can actually farm from, I think, stage 2 or whatever. Anyway, so we'll go over a couple glyphs. Now, first of all, I'll go quickly over my team setup. That won't be for this video, but I've chosen to go for one healer and one pseudo healer. Bluebird is a pseudo healer because he does a lot of things to mitigate damage. His second ability decreases enemies' attack, so their attack, decreases their attack. Also has a little bit of a chance to decrease the turn bar, but that's not what we really care about there. We want to decrease the enemy's attack so that they deal less damage to us. His third ability, which is really cool, it gives all of our guys a shield for 2 turns, which absorbs 40% of incoming damage. So, say something attacks us for 100% damage, it'll take away 40% of that and we'll only receive 60. So really valuable shield. Super awesome. It also gives a chance to decrease the speed. So I mean, like, Bluebird's pretty much godly. He's, I think, probably maybe the best Nat 2. Anywho, so that's my team that I've got with me at the moment. Just kind of going through things. So the 2 attackers plus a healer and a pseudo healer or damage mitigator. And it's kind of doing okay until I get to glyph dungeons, where I'll probably have to get a second healer and go from there. Which I'll probably dump Blade Dancer. If I didn't have Dragon, I'd dump whatever else I had and keep the Blade Dancer. Okay, cool. So we'll go for how to glyph up. Now, I got a bit lucky with the Dragon. I won't spend too much time on him, but I'll go over him really quickly. So his third ability, if he gets crit, he has a 65% chance of recovering his turn, which is really good. He can essentially go for unlimited turns for a really long time. He's done it a few times. But his crit chance needs to be really high. So, in terms of my own progression, I'm not really too massively far into this game. This is what it looks like. Haven't even touched Wastelands. Did Fire Maze. This is pretty much the limit of my progression at the moment. I can't really do much more than that. My glyphs just simply aren't strong enough, and my creatures aren't strong enough. I don't have any of them upgraded skill-wise either. Don't really have too many books. I'm doing my Fire Nymph first because she's my healer. Now, in terms of Glyph Dungeon and what I have gotten up to, this is what it looks like as well. So, got to number 5. I could do that-ish. It was a bit of a struggle, but I mean, it autoed, so it kind of managed to go past there. I couldn't do 6. And I haven't really tried Wrath and Strength, to be honest, because Benefit is just really easy to grind out in the beginning levels, so that's all I'm focusing on. Now, I'll do this every now and then, because if you're a new player, these glyph dungeons are going to be the best sources of glyphs that you can get. The reason for this is because through these glyph dungeons, when a glyph drops, it will have a minimum of a certain few stats. So I think it's got a minimum of 2 substats or 1 substat, but it will always have a substat. and it has a maximum of, I think, 5 substats. So you'll get your main stat, and I'll explain what I mean by this by going here. Cool, so let's have a look at this glyph right here. So, if a glyph drops in the glyph dungeon, it'll have a minimum of 1 substat and a potential of all 5 substats rolling on just the glyph drop. And then when you upgrade it every 3 levels, you get a random substat added to it. So essentially what that means is when you farm glyph dungeons, you have a chance to get a whole bunch of substats, which are just free stats on your glyphs, and they make your glyphs a lot stronger, so they're really good to use in general. When, however, you farm through the normal sort of scenario stages, which is just these stages, these glyphs that drop, they usually are only just their main stat and that's it. Sometimes you might get lucky and get a substat or maybe a second substat, but I've never seen more than 2 substats from these, and if you do get 2 substats, you're very lucky. Doesn't really happen very often, so you don't really get great glyphs. However, you do need to farm these scenario stages to level up your fodder to get some 5-star monsters eventually, and 4-star monsters eventually, which you want to do when you want to upgrade your monsters. So they're really good to farm just to get some base glyphs and go from there. Now, in terms of how to glyph monsters, we're on Dragon. We need crit for him, so we want to get as close to 100 crit as possible. I'm happy with like anywhere above 80, to be honest, at this stage in the game. So what I did was I farmed Frenzy for a whole little while, and I got a bunch of, I farmed Volcano Nightmare, which gives Frenzy Glyph. And I got a whole bunch of everything, a lot of greens, a few oranges or yellows, and I picked out a few good glyphs, upgraded them, and they're just chilling here till we get a free glyph removal event, which I believe, I'm just going to take a big guess and say it's coming up really soon, in maybe 3-4 days. Just have a feeling. So I'm going to hold on to that a bit before, so I don't have to pay for removing these, because I actually want to take these off and put them onto other monsters. So anyway, really simple with what I've done with Dragon. I've made sure the first 2 slots are speed, because the first 2 slots you always want as speed. These first 2 slots, when you're glyphing any monster, are the only 2 slots where you can get speed as a main stat. So you always want these 2 as speed, pretty much no matter what. There really isn't much of an exception unless you're very early on, and you're not getting many glyphs, and you just input something in there, then go nuts. But when you're sort of early game / mid game, then always try and aim for speed. You'll notice that your creatures in your battle go a lot more smoother when your creatures have a lot more speed on them. So really simple. I've gone for 2 speed glyphs. Gotten pretty a little bit lucky on this one. Got a speed subset as well, so there's a lot of speed on that one. And I managed to pick up I farmed until I got a crit glyph on square. For these 2 middle glyphs, these are the only 2 locations you can get crit rate and crit damage. Only 2 locations. You can't get them on top or the bottom. Just like on the top glyphs, these are the only ones that you can get speed. So for these middle ones, I knew I needed crit. So I farmed for a while, got crit, and there it is. It's upgraded, it's just chilling there. I'm not putting it in yet because I still want to remove these glyphs and use them later on, so I don't want to just place them over, and I don't want to pay crystals to take them out because they're going to be expensive. So I'm waiting for a free glyph removal event to do that. And the only reason I'm waiting is because I believe it's coming up really shortly. If it doesn't happen in the next few days, I'll just pay it. Cool, so that's 3. Now, when I look through the rest of my glyphs, I noticed I didn't have any more crits. However, I did have... I think it's over here. I did have a whole bunch of lifesteal. So, I had a whole bunch of lifesteal. Flat stats are okay to go for early on in the game, when first of all, your creatures are 4-star or lower, and you're not getting level 13 glyphs or higher. So flat stats are completely fine. early on. When you have 5-star monsters, you want to go always for percentage-based glyphs, so attack percentage instead of attack flats, flat stats, flat numbers. See, yeah, here's a good example. Here's HP percentage. The alternative would look like a HP flat, which is just a flat number. So this is a flat defense as opposed to a defense percentage. I don't actually have an example here. Here we go, HP. This is a flat HP glyph, and this is a percent HP glyph. Percentages are always better on a 5-star monster, so that's towards your end game. And also when a glyph is usually yellow and level 13 and above, that's when percentage is king. So you always want to go percentage. Before that, however, it's absolutely fine to go for flat stats. Flat stats are actually a little bit better very early on, and in the mid game they're relatively equal to percent stats. So if you get a flat or a percent in mid game, it really doesn't matter when you still got a whole bunch of green glyphs on your creatures, because they're pretty much the same thing. Matter of fact, the flats are still a little bit better. So anyway, with my Lava Dragon, he's going to be my carry. He's just going to do a whole bunch of damage. So my strategy with him was to get the crit rate glyph on Frenzy. I had it right there. So I've got my crit rate Frenzy glyph, which is right there. And I'm going to have these 2 speed glyphs for him as well. So I'm going to get the Frenzy bonus, which is 10, and I'll get this nice amount of crit plus the nice substat, which I got quite lucky with. And then I'm also going to chuck on all of these green lifesteal glyphs, and luckily one of them is a crit rate as well, so this one's going to add another 12 on top, and this one has a little bit of extra as well. So I'm not going to have my Lava Dragon on max crit, but he's going to be decently crittable, or crittage, or he'll crit stuff, and he'll hopefully have a bit of damage on him as well, because he'll have 2 attack glyphs on him to up his damage up. So yeah, that should hopefully glyph him quite well. The reason that I really wanted lifesteal and I'm sacrificing 10 crit for it is because it'll really help him solo things. Especially when he keeps getting turns over and over again, he can literally heal himself up just by attacking things, which is great. So that's the strategy with Lava Dragon. Really makes sense. It's really kind of common sense sort of stuff. Now, something that is much more applicable to everyone else is going to be this healer, for example. So how do you glyph a healer? So first of all, speed always. The only reason this isn't a speed is because I didn't have one. So I'll just put a HP glyph on there. Second slots, HP. The 4 slots, third and 4th slots, HP. And the last slots, defense and HP. So you'll notice that pretty much all of these are HP. HP or defense. That's because you don't want your healer to die. Your healers are squishy. If they die, you're in a real large amount of trouble. I've got HP glyphs here. However, honestly, that it doesn't really matter what you have. If you manage to farm up haste glyphs, that's great. Use those. If you farm up other things, doesn't really matter as long as they have the stats. So early on to mid game, as long as they have the stats that you need, then you're doing the right thing. Very, very early game, so beginner game, so before level 10 and under, make sure you do get the set bonuses, because these set bonuses essentially outweigh the individual bonuses of the glyphs. So yeah, but when you're towards mid game and you're mixing up some oranges, some yellow glyphs in there, you can diverge from having full sets if you really, really need to, if you have some amazing glyphs out there. But otherwise, generally try and stay in sets, farm sets, so you can equip them all and get the nice juicy bonuses, because they're really valuable to you in the early mid game. Yeah, and obviously the attacker, really similar as well. So speed. The only reason he's got some defense on him is because he had trouble staying alive. Alright, so that will pretty much cover this. I'll make some more different videos about creatures and how to glyph up certain teams. Thank you for watching.